So the big news yesterday was that Ruby Rose has bounced on Batwoman. It was really funny how this happened because the show had just ended its first season. It's literally like 2 days after the show ended. The season was a very long one, by the way, 20 episodes, which I am just blown away by. Usually, like a show, when it first starts, at least nowadays, gets like 10, maybe 13 episodes for its first season. Batwoman got 20, which was hilarious. And it got renewed for season 2, literally, like, by the time episode 6 had aired, they're like, yeah, we're going to go ahead and give it a second season. And now I'm really interested in how many episodes are going to give season 2. This actually would have been the perfect time to cut the show off. Hey, Ruby Rose is gone. We're just going to quietly fold the show. I saw some people on Twitter saying they think they're going to do just that. They're just going to quietly cancel the show. I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to keep the show going. And I guarantee you, I almost promise you, at some point during season 2, whoever they cast as the new Batwoman, they're going to praise. She's so stunning and brave. And they're going to give the show a third season. Watch. I don't think they really care about money. I don't think they really care about ratings. Supergirl's a good example of that. That show's still getting renewed, and it's got just as bad of ratings as this show does. So I think they're going to keep it going. Now, the difference between Supergirl and Batwoman is Batwoman has reached the low point of... So Supergirl has the same ratings almost as Batwoman, except it took Supergirl a few years to get there. Batwoman reached its lowest point within 1 year. That's pretty significant, at least to me. It shows how terrible the show is. And one thing you're going to see now is some people are coming out and saying Ruby Rose deserved better. She deserved a better show. They're admitting basically that Batwoman sucked, and it did suck. They're not gonna come out and say that because it's a checkbox show. You know, it hits all of those diversity check boxes, and that's why it needs to remain. Not that it needs a good story. The story doesn't matter to these people. The product doesn't matter. It could be her sitting in a chair reading a book for an hour, but because it has diversity and inclusion, it needs to be on the air. It needs to be there. How good the product is has never mattered to any of these people that champion for this trash. It's been sinking on Rotten Tomatoes. The ratings have been bad forever. I think its lowest point was 634,000 people watching it. Now, it's spiked up a little bit thanks to bringing Bruce Wayne. Well, casting someone that could potentially be Bruce Wayne. They brought Hush in. And gave him Bruce Wayne's face, something that's happened in the games and the comics. And that spiked up ratings for the show. Brought 100,000 people back, showing that no one gives a damn about Batwoman. You just need to put Batman in there somewhere. Nobody likes this character. And the comics people like this character, actually. The character in the comics is actually pretty well done. The problem is, you know, it goes to CW and it becomes a darker version of Days of Our Lives. And it just doesn't work, which is one of the reasons why the show is... All those CW shows, to me, are just kind of trash. I've never really liked them. Mostly because there are a bunch of soap operas with superheroes. I mean, they talk in hallways more than they actually have battles in these CW shows. Though I will say definitely Batwoman was the worst of them all. It's a horrible show. So, you know, Batwoman went trending on Twitter. A lot of people are still trying to figure out why she left. We don't know why she left. A lot of people are thinking it's because of the injuries she sustained while filming the show. And that's a possibility. It is a possibility. She almost got paralyzed from working on the show, but it was explicitly stated that this is not the reason she left. It's either about money or some kind of internal stuff, or she got a better show or a better movie lined up and she wanted out because of the commitments to filming a TV show. It's hard to do movies or another show and be a part, like a star of one show. If she was like a side character, she could probably do it. But when you're the star, there's a lot of commitment to filming for TV. It's a little bit different than the movies. So I don't know. Maybe it's because the show sucked and she didn't want to be associated with this brand. Who knows? It's just funny. I don't know when we'll find out. Maybe we'll find out soon. Maybe. Who knows? But I would like to think she left because she wanted to get her brand off of this trash fire. It's possible. People are blasting Jeopardy because Jeopardy included a Ruby Rose question right after her exit from the show. Got a lot of stupid responses here. Like, ooh, that Batwoman glue hurt. Kind of just funny. The big thing that I wanted to go over was this. Ruby Rose and the myth of Batwoman. The star deserved a better show than the one that left Batwoman in the shadows. While the first season of Batwoman had many faults, Ruby Rose was not one of them, and her departure comes all too soon. Now, what I like about this article is they admit that Batwoman sucked, which very few outlets will do. There are very few that will admit the show is trash because this show is everything that they want. You know, you've got a female replacing a dude, right? She's got plenty of diversity and inclusion checkboxes that she hits. This is the show that they've always wanted. It's just a terrible show, and people generally just don't like it. And they won't admit that because they want more shows like this. So when you see an article like this, it's kind of refreshing where they admit the show stinks. Go over some of their points here. Ruby Rose has stepped down as Batwoman in a surprise announcement on May 19th. The CW is already looking to recast her role with season 2 and return in January as scheduled. The reasons for her departure are unclear, but whatever the case, Ruby Rose has dropped the Bat mantle before she ever got the chance to truly make her mark with the character. There were many problems with Batwoman season 1, but Ruby Rose was not one of them. I somewhat disagree. I thought her acting was very flat, very monotone. There really wasn't much range. I don't think she did a very good job. She really just looked like she didn't want to be there. Now, maybe people disagree with me. I don't know. Maybe it's just the fact that the show sucked all around. There's plenty of reasons. Now, the next paragraph is actually kind of interesting because they get some things right and some things wrong. But let's go over it. Batwoman was not a very well-written show right from its premise. Kate Kane returns to Gotham in the wake of her cousin Bruce Wayne's disappearance, discovers his Batcave, and then uses his resources to continue his fight to protect Gotham. From his expensive gadgets to his bulletproof Batsuit that was bizarrely central to much of the season's plot, this show's reliance on Batman's mythology put Batwoman deep in her cousin's shadow. Aside from her central antagonist, Alice, Batwoman was repeatedly put up against Batman's villains as well instead of establishing her own rogues gallery. So where I agree with the writer is where he says that the show is not well written. I 100% agree with that. The show is trash. Now, the parts that I disagree with are his reasons why. So a couple of things in here saying that, the show relied too much on Bat villains. The show didn't rely enough on Bat villains. Praises the Alice stuff, which was its worst thing. Like, no one cares about Alice. Alice is terrible. Alice sucks. Like, you couldn't have got Hush should have been the main central antagonist from the start. Okay? Or Azrael or something. There's so many different directions that they could have taken this show. And it should have revolved more around Batman. The point of the show should have been, hey, we can't do Batman. Let's do a Batman show with Batwoman. Instead, they gave us hot garbage. Okay? And relying on the Batsuit for a lot of the storytelling, that's because people like Batman's like the most popular comic book character on the planet. So naturally, you're going to want to talk about him as much as possible, even though you can't use him. Her being in Bruce Wayne's shadow, that's always going to be there because she's using all of his stuff. The whole time she's like, one of the whole things of the show is like almost spitting on him. She's using his money, his gadgets, his technology. his bat cave, his bat suit, his bat computer, but she gets all the credit. You know, it was a lot of just bad stuff like that. A lot of bad stuff like that. Another thing, I do agree with this paragraph, though. Batwoman adhered a little too strongly to the CW's established format for its superhero shows, a vigilante supported by a team of non-superheroes who became an essential part of the hero's exploits. Between that and the show's focus on Alice's backstory, there was very little room for Kate Kane's own story to shine, as it got buried underneath all of its own characters. It's a shame because crossovers such as Crisis on Infinite Earths and Elseworlds proved a very important thing. Ruby Rose is great as Batwoman. I think there's some fair points in this paragraph. I do. Particularly having too many characters. That is a trope of all these CW shows. They all these superheroes have a team around them that have no powers, and it's really too many characters. You don't really need all of them. I think that's a fair point. I think the character of Kate Kane could have maybe breathed a little bit more if there were few other characters on there. But here's the problem. This is an NPC show. So when you're trying to please all of those check boxes that need to get hit for those people, you kind of have to bring in tons of different characters because there's no way Kate Kane can hit all of the inclusivity herself. So you've got to bring in all of these other characters to please these people, even though they're never going to be pleased anyway. And it starts a problem. So you can never really fully flesh out the character that you're trying to make the star of the show because you've got to hit all of those check boxes for inclusive and diversity stuff all of the time. That's really the problem here. So an interesting point here about the crossovers too, like Elseworlds and Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crisis on Infinite Earths was really hyped up, and I've said this before. You introduced Batwoman to a very, very large audience through that show. And then they came and you still couldn't get them to watch Batwoman on her own series. That's pretty pathetic. That's pretty pathetic. That's really all there is to this article, are those points. But what I liked about this is they admit the show sucks, which is the first time I've seen a news outlet admit that. Now, usually these mainstream websites, they don't ever talk about how bad the show is. It's always just how great it is. Very few critics slam this show, and I find that kind of entertaining in itself, you know, how these kind of shows get praised. You know, and you see the difference on Rotten Tomatoes because people don't like this trash. But, you know, these people, they keep pushing it like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. That's pretty much it for Ruby Rose. I did find this kind of funny. Since it's a bat-themed video, we could throw it in. Bane masks are selling out everywhere. I don't understand why. Maybe it's just as a joke. You can see them right here. Here's some of them. And it's like, it's probably not going to really protect you that much other than just being a funny mask. I don't know. I thought this was kind of funny. Good way to end the video on something funny, right? Anyway. That's it, guys. What do you guys think why do you think she left the show? I'm really just curious about that, and I can't wait for us to get some real details. An insider will eventually spill the beans on why Ruby Rose ditched Batwoman. And I really would like to know, and I think we will find out. But what do you guys think? Do you think it was because of the injuries? Do you think she wanted to get away from the brand? Let me know your thoughts on that. I'd like to hear what your guys' theories are on it. Why do you think that the media pumps that show up? Why do they praise it? Let me know your thoughts on that. Also, throw a like up, share the video. Make sure you're still subscribed. Subscribe if you're new. Hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that and subscribe if you're new.